ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen. And guten Morgen, good morning to you from the Merkur Spiel arena in Desseldorf in North Rhine-Westphalia. The setting today for the penultimate match ahead of the US's return to the broadest soccer stage of all, the World Cup finals in Qatar this fall. It is, Taylor Twellman, 17 days short of 5 years since that awful occasion, Trinidad and Tobago. What were they doing, to paraphrase your wonderful words on that occasion? ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen, and today comes from Desseldorf. 59 days from now, the majority of the US players who are currently beginning to gather down in the tunnel will be lining up in Al Rayyan, Qatar, ready to face Wales in their World Cup opener. Most have secured their places, some have still to do so, and that's a big part of the narrative today here in Desseldorf as they take on fellow World Cup finalists Japan, led by the very experienced Maya Yoshida. Japan ranked 10 places below the United States by FIFA, currently 24th as against 14th. They are heading for their 7th consecutive World Cup. The overwhelming majority of the support, around about 10,000 people expected for the game today, albeit in a stadium that can accommodate 54,500. But the largest Japanese community in all of Germany and the third largest in Europe is here in Desseldorf, and it looks like most of them have turned out to support the Samurai Blue as they take on the US men's national team in what will be our penultimate glance at Greg Berhalter's men before they appear for real on the broadest soccer stage of them all in Qatar in 8.5 weeks from now. Mild day, distinctly autumnal in North Rhine-Westphalia. The pitch ever so slightly bumpy, the grass quite long, the stadium impressive, and the stakes, even in a friendly, for some of these players on the fringes of the roster, are very, very high.
Please stand for the national anthems. First, the national anthem of the United States of America. And now the national anthem of Japan.
So Japan and the US about to engage for the third time on the football field. The match officials are from Germany. Felix Zweier is the main man, a well-known figure from the UEFA Champions League. We can take a look at the Japan lineup today, and the first thing to stress is that they too have another friendly to play against Ecuador, and it would seem from this selection that they're fielding their strongest side against the South Americans.
Yeah, but I also think some of this is just looking at, well, how do they best match up with the United States? Make no mistake about it, highly technical team, a team that defends as a group extremely well, but this front three is going to ask a ton of questions of the back line of the United States, because so much of it is about the intensity by which they press, but also the ability to be fluctuating with their movements. Maeda is a special player for Celtic. 8 goals last year and already he's on fire. Referred to as the machine, he's going to make things very difficult for this Walker Zimmerman and Aaron Long center back partnership.
They start together. It's the 11th time they've appeared in the same US men's national team lineup. If you're looking at those on the fringes, Sam Vines trying to impress as the reserve left back. Luca Della Torre, who appeared in 3 of the last 4 World Cup qualifiers, getting another chance in midfield, and no Pulisic.
Yeah, in mind the viewers at home, it's early morning, but it was the Morocco friendly here on ESPN that you saw a tactical switch from Greg Berhalter in trying to help Tyler Adams progress the ball in possession. We saw Yunus Musa playing that spot. He's out injured. De La Torre gets a wonderful opportunity to do so. And without Pulisic, you're seeing Brendan Aronson in a wide position today, and I think he's going to provide some real spaces and opportunities for Ferreira going forward.
A brief moment of togetherness for the US team, who've enjoyed their stint in Cologne, 30 minutes drive from here, which has been their training base. Also where they've stayed in a very pleasant hotel overlooking the famous Cologne Cathedral. Of address from Walker Zimmerman, who skippers the national team for the 6th time today, and an important day, one would suggest, for the figure in the background there, Aaron Long.
Yeah, absolutely. I think things got real complicated for Greg Berhalter when Miles Robinson tore his Achilles, because when you look at the numbers since the Nations League of 2021, no player had played more minutes than Miles Robinson. Now, ironically, Miles Robinson got the opportunity because Aaron Long tore his Achilles, but I think today's a massive game for Aaron Long in cementing that spot next to Walker Zimmerman.
It is ticking round to 2:26 p.m. in Central Europe. Thank you for joining us fairly early in the morning on the East Coast, and very early in the morning. Well done for getting up in time if you're with us on the West Coast. It is the Samurai Blue who get us underway. Experienced World Cup contenders. Very good at getting to the group stage, not so good at getting through it, although they did manage that 4 years ago and nearly knocked out Belgium in the round of 16. You tend to know what you're going to get from Japan, which is a side that's very technically adept, with bundles of energy. This is Luca Della Torre for the United States, their first attack. Headed away by the central defender, Sakai. To the World Cup with a degree of comfort. It's a convoluted process from Asia. It's Junior Ito into a shooting position, and an early feel of the ball for Matt Turner.
Well, and this is what Japan wants to do. They're going to high press. They're going to turn you over as quickly as possible. Bad giveaway here from Aaron Long. Now, part of it is the field is extremely slow. You saw players in warm-ups trying to get used to the grass, but Aaron Long's got to be cleaner with that possession. Good opportunity for Japan on the counter.
Aronson. Serginho Dest. Now Walker Zimmerman. Layoff. De La Torre. Aronson. There's a small section of US support making itself heard behind the left-hand goal. Members of the German chapter of the American Outlaws.
I think the hard thing for the players, John, is this is almost a reminder of what it was like playing games during COVID. I mean, there's barely, what, 5,000 people in this building, if that?
We were told 10,000, but that does look optimistic.
And so with the stakes so high for you as an individual, and for some of these players are trying to play themselves into the World Cup. You even heard Greg Berhalter and his staff talk to the players of just the energy and the atmosphere is going to have to come within the group. You and I called many a games during the pandemic with no fans in the building, and this is eerily similar.
Eerily is the right word. It's almost ghostly and very echoey inside the Merkur Spiel arena, which is a stadium far in excess of what you would anticipate from a team currently in the Zweite Bundesliga, Fortuna Desseldorf. They have enjoyed better times, and this stadium was designed for those. Weston McKennie. And he gets the free kick from the German match referee, Felix Spiel.
I think it's extremely important for Weston McKennie in the United States that they can pull Endo out of that position, more of an old-fashioned stopper that will sit in front of the center backs and put out fires and clean up 50-50 balls. And so Weston McKennie and the movement off of Luca De La Torre is going to be vital for the United States to ultimately play into the feet of Jesus Ferreira up front.
Here's Zimmerman. Dest. Tangling with Kubo. And then running into Endo. Ito, back to Endo, one of three German-based players in this Japanese starting 11. Morita. Tomiyasu of Arsenal. Back to Yoshida of Schalke. Aronson.
You can see how quickly Japan reacts. It's a fantastic test for the United States. Less than 9 weeks away from the World Cup, and Greg Berhalter understands that, right? Immediately when they lose possession, the energy and commitment from the Japanese to immediately put pressure on the ball is understated at times. It's also a big reason why they won 15 of their 18 games in World Cup qualifying.
Dest. On for Aronson. Tomiyasu. And a stumble induced by a foul. Morita going over under pressure from Adams. Sakai. Tomiyasu. Kubo. Jesus Ferreira. Samvines. Berhalter has spent plenty of time in Europe these past few months assessing players spread far and wide across this continent. So, games in Belgium only last weekend. Samvines has been very much on his radar, playing for top of the table Antwerp. In his words, tearing it up this season so far.
Well, his decision-making has just improved immensely, right? He's more sure of himself and getting forward. And I think with Giovanni Reyna having the ability to come inside, I'd be shocked if we don't see Vines more so in the final third.
Here's Dest. Standing one up for Ferreira. First clear opportunity.
Ferreira's having one of his best seasons, if not his best season in Major League Soccer, and as a professional, 5 goals this year for the United States, albeit 4 of those against Grenada. And the biggest question mark about Jesus Ferreira at the international level is putting the ball in the back of the net. Fantastic work from Serginho Dest getting forward.
McKennie. Now Reyna. So much excitement surrounding 19-year-old Gio Reyna. He'll be 20 in November as the World Cup is getting underway. It's just a couple of weeks beyond a year since he was last deemed fit enough and able to start a game for the national team.
You and I talked a little bit about it in pregame. It's all about timing, isn't it? If he's hitting his stride right before the World Cup and confident in his body and where he is mentally, he becomes a real X factor for Greg Berhalter in the United States because he has a little bit more nuance of all the attacking players. I love when he starts in wide positions and comes inside, because then it's going to ask a ton of questions of the opposition in that back line. But it also allows, today it's Sam Vines, but more than likely that could be Anthony Robinson, to really impact the game going forward. You know, a ton of players are having a nightmare with the field.
We got a good close look at it when we were hosting our pre-game coverage, and it looked surprisingly bumpy and surprisingly poorly cut. Not just in terms of the length in one particular place, but it's erratic in terms of how short or long the grass is in different areas of the pitch.
It is Oktoberfest here,
as you are able to verify, having very much enjoyed that side of things only last night.
and it's a FIFA international break, so maybe the ground crews just enjoying themselves this Friday morning.
Germany play tonight. That's the main focus, in truth, of soccer observers here in Germany. They've got a Nations League game in Leipzig against Hungary. Tomiyasu, who we're more used to seeing play at right back with his club, Arsenal. He does have plenty of experience as a central defender. Yoshida. A couple of players in this Japan squad who are going to be heading to their 4th World Cup. And 3 more going to their 3rd. So there's a bundle of top-class experience available to the coach, Hajime Moriyasu. And this is Morita. Kubo. Kubo opens it up for himself, and the block is by Zimmerman. De La Torre. Of Matt Turner there, and that's another point that's up for debate and discussion. Who starts in goal 59 days from now against Wales in Qatar.
Well, and you and I may go into that a little bit more deeply at halftime, of just where it is historically the United States going into a World Cup and the lack of not having a definitive number 1.
Last 5 World Cups that the US have been to, there's always been a player at the top level in Europe, the clear number 1. Twice it was deemed to be Casey Keller, once Brad Friedel, twice more Tim Howard. Endo. Sakai. Japan remain here for another game against Ecuador in this stadium 4 days from now. Nakayama. Comfortable take for Turner.
Well, we were curious how this tactically would set up for Japan. And a little surprisingly, John, it is both Endo and Morita sitting at the base of the triangle. And so that's thrown the balance off a little bit for the United States, because as Turner came off the line and got a hold of that cross, immediately Tyler Adams was having a conversation with Dele Torre, because defensively their positioning and balance is off, and it's allowed Japan to play between them a little too easily.
And it's quite a significant departure for Japan to line up like that. Here's a chance for them, and Turner makes his first important save.
Oh, big question mark about the center-back partnership and what it would look like opening game of the World Cup. And both Aaron Long and Walker Zimmerman have given the ball away too easily in possession. And both times, Matt Turner's had to come up with a big save. None bigger than that one. What a fantastic save from the Arsenal goalkeeper.
Denying Daichi Kamada of Eintracht Frankfurt. Three Bundesliga players amongst this starting 11 for Japan. Referee not happy that the ball is in the right place. A good portion of it needs to be overhanging the quadrant, and it wasn't. It now is. Aaron Long losing out aerially, but it is a goal kick. There were just one or two moments of concern, as you pointed out, Taylor, defensively for the United States so far.
Yeah, and some of those have been self-inflicted with bad giveaways, and in this one, I think Aaron Long did a good enough job to get in the way of Endo having a clean header. But we've seen it throughout the time under Greg Berhalter. They will play out of the back religiously and try to find their spaces. But both center backs getting lucky that their goalkeepers come up with a save after.
What's the most relevant comparison in terms of Japan and the US's opponents at the World Cup? Is there one?
I'm not sure there is one in the group. I think at times, because of the world ranking and that nonsense, that Japan is underrated, but I do think they prepped you well. You said it best, 2018, they were fantastic. And I reached out to Roberto Martinez, and he said, if not for our world-class players, we don't advance in that game. But I think they prep you for maybe what comes in a round of 16. But I'd be very careful underestimating what Iran's going to do in a World Cup in the Middle East, in that climate, in that environment. I'm not sure I overestimate them.
Greg Berhalter's feeling is that Saudi Arabia, upcoming in Murcia, Spain, next Tuesday, will be a more relevant test for that Iran fixture. He sees comparisons, direct comparisons between Iran and Saudi Arabia on the football field.
I mean, truth be told, you'd rather play, you know, two Asian opponents to do the best you can to find that. But I think if U.S. Soccer and Greg Berhalter had their way, there would have been a European opponent in this window. You can't do it anymore with Nations League and those competitive friendlies.
Here's Maya Yoshida, who's such a good servant to Southampton in the Premier League, 8 years on the English South Coast. In towards Maeda. And that will be another corner.
Just a collection of players that are operating on the same page with the same ideas consistently. That is what Japan is. They don't have any superstars. They're as strong as the group takes them, but their rotations in the midfield right now are allowing their fullbacks to get forward and to deliver some dangerous balls in.
Kubo, Junior Ito, and some defensive work from Jesus Ferreira. Zimmerman stepping in. actually getting a free kick for a foul. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-electric Volkswagen ID.4. Very neatly works for Ito, but the first touch under some pressure deserted him. Here's McKennie. Morita, Ito, Endo. And McKennie and Rayner try to plot the route upfield. Rayner wearing a number associated with his father, Claudio, 21. United States unbeaten in their last 10 games against teams from Asia. Dating back to the loss to Iran at World Cup '98. And you're absolutely right about the atmosphere. This is a throwback to those sad times when we were watching football in either empty or near empty stadia. Hear the players shouts at each other. Urgent instructions from the coaching benches very clearly.
Especially in a building like this, John. Imagine this thing, full house. I mean, you and I'd have a tough time listening and hearing each other as close as we are now.
It's a cavernous place. It was opened in 2004. Germany have actually played 3 internationals here. De La Torre.
That's really the first time the press of the United States have caught Japan in possession. I think the United States in possession need to be a little bit more urgent and decisive with their touches, with their movement. You're seeing players lose possession maybe with an extra touch or not having options around them where the opposition has 2 or 3 options at all times, particularly in the midfield. And so I think it's extremely important here that the front 3 and the 4 attacking players of the United States are providing options to play into the feet, knock it off. You can see Ferreira, the ability to drop deeper in to allow them to help in possession. I just think Japan's had a better time in possession, being a little bit more proactive than the United States have been.
This is Walker Zimmerman. Yoshida. Sakai. Ito. There's a nice fluidity to Japan's work.
There is. I mean, just look at that pattern of play. Ito comes into the hole. Sam Vines gets caught maybe a little flat-footed, gets baited a little bit there, and Sakai makes an overlapping run over 35, 40 yards, and the ball's delivered to his feet. Yeah, but look at Tyler Adams right now. That tells you exactly what's going on in the field right now. Ball's into his feet. He tries to play a quick one into McKennie, and he turns around and he's begging for 2 or 3 other options to present themselves.
Vines. It's Nakayama. Use of the chest by Dest. And Adams lost it. Morita. Endo. Ito. And slipped in very neatly for Daichi Kamada, who is particularly adept at getting forward from midfield.
Yeah, but Ito's highly regarded as one of the top wingers in Belgium, and you can just see the ability to take defenders on, but then to deliver that final ball with the vision of allowing the attacking player Kamada to take it one time. Japan putting real pressure on the back line of the United States over the last 5-6 minutes here.
Wataru Endo, captain Stuttgart in the Bundesliga under American coach Pellegrino Matarazzo. Japanese players historically have made a fair impact in Germany. Look at Makoto Hasebi, their former captain, still playing regularly for Eintracht at 38. He's retired from international football now. And if there is one thing about Japanese footballers worldwide, it is their durability and reliability. Here's Ito. Morita. There's the chance, and there's the opening goal. And it's that man who's been such a threat, Kamada, who is going to be denied and disappointed ultimately by the offside flag as he turned away to celebrate. It was cut short pretty quickly.
Well, and Ito had both hands on his hips, wondering how can Kamada be in an offside position here. That is extremely close off the backside of Walker Zimmerman. I'm not totally sure he was offside.
No VAR today.
But from a U.S. perspective, how alarming is that, coming off another bad giveaway? This one out of the midfield, Weston McKennie losing possession, and immediately Japan going forward. Now, we were told before the game there was no VAR, but obviously Japan being the home broadcasters, it looks like there is VAR, and this one's extremely close. The left foot of Walker Zimmerman and that left shoulder of Kamada, that's what VAR is looking at right now.
Yes, this has taken us by surprise as much as many others. We were given a list of the match officials. We asked whether VAR was involved. And this is not concurrent with the answer that we got, but it does mean that the debate goes on over the validity or otherwise of this goal.
Yeah, but the question is it clear and obvious wrong? He's going to go look at it, and I think he's given a goal, hasn't he?
He has. Yep. It's a hair's breadth call.
Well, and this is the ball here where Kamada, look at the left foot of Walker Zimmerman. That's what VAR is looking at here. The home broadcasters are from Japan. If you look at it, I'm not sure he was offside, and I think rightfully so. Japan is deserving of the goal.
They say you learn a lot in adversity, so this may be quite a learning curve for the United States today in their preparations for the World Cup, because here come Japan again with Ito and Maeda, and Turner makes a good play.
It's just too easy. It's extremely easy for the Japanese to play through the United States, and a lot of it is just off possession. The United States giving away possession multiple ways. And this is what Japan does, collectively very compact, making it difficult to play between the lines. And then when they turn you over, they've got 3 or 4 quick options to go forward. Quite honestly, they should have a 2-3 goal lead with the mistakes and the balls given away from the United States.
Tyler Adams. Kamada Modest goal, his 6th in international football. He's been producing outstanding form for Eintracht in the Bundesliga this season, 6 goals already. Part of the team that triumphed in the Europa League last season. Playing in a more attacking role even than usual today, normally an attacking midfielder, but playing right up top.
Well, and I wonder, is that because of the tactical switch with Marita playing next to Endo, and they're almost defending with 6 and then allowing the front four to just have fluidity and freedom to go forward.
Long back to Turner.
I mean, 2 things I've noticed from the United States. First, has Sam Vines crossed half field?
No.
The answer is no. And so he's in this as a like for Anthony Robinson, and yet we've seen very little going forward. We've seen Des deliver a dangerous ball in that Ferreira should have done better with that. But other than that, it's been very little from the United States. And when you watch him, quick throw in here from Weston McKennie.
And here's Reyna, and that will be a corner kick to the United States.
It just seems very simple that the United States is reacting to Japan being more proactive.
Jostling for position as Ferreira delivers. And that's a spectacular but very painful take for Shuichi Gonda, who is now the long-term #1 goalkeeper. Taken over from the very long-serving Eiji Kawashima. And landed with a true thump, a jarring fall. He's a player who went to the World Cup in 2014 but didn't appear, and only took over as the #1 after the last World Cup. It's a pretty spectacular take.
It is, but if anything, Gonda has to be committed coming off his line, and nobody's there to really impede his ability to come off the line. He was the understudy at the 2014 World Cup, so he's waited his time, hasn't he?
He has. I mean, he's 33 now, and these 33 caps have taken 12 years to accrue. I wonder, you know Greg Berhalter very well, better than most. Will he be, in a strange sense, almost happy that his side is being made to be uncomfortable?
I think it's difficult, right? Because I think Greg Berhalter, his early start to his career as a manager is at the club level of working with the group every day, right? It's been almost 3 months where he hasn't been with this group. So to answer your question, yes. But the fact that he looked at you and I yesterday and said, I can finally feel the World Cup is here, there's that anxiety there and there's that energy there. So, yeah, I mean, I think with adversity comes real questions and ultimately some answers about this group. So to answer your question in a long-winded way, I would say yes.
We got there in the end.
We got there. Oktoberfest was fun yesterday.
It's done without you wearing the lederhosen, frankly.
Have you ever tried to sleep in lederhosen? Oh, brutal. It's just so sloppy. It's relentless pressure.
It's another platform for Japan with this award of a free kick. Greg Berhalter It seemed a little surprised when we brought up the disparity between home and on-the-road results for the United States. They've won 23 of their last 25 at home, only 1 of their last 9 outside of the United States. And this year, as we look at this foul that has led to the free kick again, they played 4 times outside the US, not 1, and only scored 1 goal, which was a 91st minute equaliser in El Salvador.
Yeah, but for the viewers at home, because it's early, nobody's got their calculators out. How does that compare to like Japan on the road?
Strange you should ask, because we had a little look at that as well, didn't we? And it's 2 defeats in 17 outside of Japan and 6 wins in their last 8. So I think we can count this as being within direct range. Part of the grass would put this at about 26 yards from goal. Hugo fancies his chances. That was a nice height and a nice pace for Turner. Tries to turn defence into attack. In a sense it works because Desseldorf was caught with a free kick.
It does, but Endo's all over the field. He's just all over the field. Any kind of half play, Endo is just sniffing out the fires, fouling, doing whatever he can to stop anything from the United States going forward.
Zimmerman. Adams. Not under particular pressure, but still the errant pass. Morita. Nakayama. Vines.
Oh boy,
a little awkward for a moment for Zimmerman.
The whole thing is awkward. The way Japan has set up with their line of confrontation, Sam Vines needs to be a little bit more proactive and go forward. Create the width down the left side, so then Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams then can come in the hole. Even Reyna at times can come in there. I mean, Dest is pushing the tempo a little bit in the space on the right side, so then at times the few opportunities the United States have had going forward, they've had success down the right. But it's almost as if Japan has recognized there's really nothing coming from the left side. So we can kind of shut down half of that field as we go back to that free kick here from Kubo. What an interesting career he's had, huh?
Three years at Real Madrid without appearing. 4 loans in that time, largely in La Liga, and now playing more regularly for Sociedad. McKennie, De La Torre.
Oh, good ball.
Slipped in for Aronson, who's offside.
Yeah, but that's the first time now you've seen Aronson in a spot where now he can impact the game vertically and through the spaces. You know, I think if Pulisic was healthy and able to go from the start, I think he would have been off the left. Reyna came off the bench, which then tells you that Berhalter would have looked at Aronson and had him playing on the outside. But Berhalter made a real mention that Aronson has flexibility where even with leads and even that game against Morocco that you and I were there in Cincinnati, he can play through the middle if needed.
Do you think Aronson starts the first game at the World Cup?
I mean, it's difficult, from my opinion, to sit him. And I know some people at home are going to have the debate. Maybe he's more impactful coming off the bench, but I'm not sure. You want your best group of 11 players to open up the World Cup and to make a statement. You're going to have a tough time convincing me that Brenden Aaronson's not part of that group.
Kamada. So it's the US who have a free kick, and Aronson is down, which is a little concerning. It's such an impact at Leeds this season. 6 appearances and that goal in the thrilling 3-0 win at Elland Road against Chelsea. It's at the start of a 5-year adventure. 5-year contract anyway in England. Kubo, who then kicks the ball away. And had this been a more competitive fixture, there might have been a yellow card for that, as it is just a warning from Felix Via. Adams. It's interesting to hear Greg Berhalter talking about the difference he's seen in some of the players who've moved clubs in the summer, particularly this man, Matt Turner, how he seems to be able to puff out his chest a little bit more, seems very much at home in this new environment in North London. Same goes for Aronson at Leeds. Adams, perhaps to a lesser degree because he'd already played in the Champions League. Sees these players coming in to camp through the door, and it's as if they've grown a couple of inches. Free kick. And another nasty moment. Brenden Aronson. Will take this. Zimmerman down. And Rita and Endo combine to hook it away. US next heading for Spain to play Saudi Arabia, and on October 11th the US women are heading for Spain as well, completing their European tour. They take on Spain themselves in Pamplona. All is not well in the Spanish camp, with 15 of the current playing squad threatening to renounce their membership, the way they've been treated by the federation and the coach, and also the issue of management of injuries lately. Coverage begins for that game, assuming it happens, at 2:30 Eastern on ESPN2, and it'll stream live on the ESPN app. That's October 11, the US women in Spain. US trailing to a goal by Daichi Kamada in the 24th minute. given after VAR review. Initially chalked off for an offside. Yoshida. Tomiyasu away. Japanese community, 11,000 strong in the city of Desseldorf. Ask yourself why. The major reason is that the Hitachi Corporation relocated here a few decades ago. Zimmerman, importantly. Ferreira, Aronson, Rayner, and here's Vines on the outside. Just about the first time we've seen any US fluency. And a rare sortie by Sam Vines. Previously had just one touch in the attacking third in the entire game. Zimmerman. Here's Dest. Nakayama. Tomiyasu.
I'm going to be interested. What does Greg Berhalter do at halftime? Because yesterday he mentioned in the presser that he was thinking about making a sub at center back and maybe somewhere else. I'm wondering if he allows this group maybe 10, 15 minutes to rectify what has happened in this first half. I mean, the most glaring stat of this first half is in the first 35 minutes of this game, they lost possession 28 times in their defensive third.
Figure has gone up to 39 occasions now. Taylor, does this provide a template for the managers, in particular of Wales, because they're first up and we had 2 minutes of stoppage time here? Does this provide a template for Rob Page of Wales as to how to take on the US?
Yes. But again, I'm not sure. I mean, I know for a fact that Wales isn't as technical as the Japanese are. I'm wondering more for Japan and their prospects in the World Cup, if the two defensive midfielders and the 2 6s may be the way they look at this and allow maybe a little bit more freedom to their attacking four. I just think their balance has been extremely impressive of when we press, but the moment we win possession, the first ball out of that pressure is to a Japanese player that's progressing the ball forward. We've seen very little from the United States being able to go from the defensive third to the attacking third.
Junior Ito. By long. Wales were in action last night against Belgium. Beaten 2-1 in Brussels. Apparently they were awful in the first half and much better in the second.
Which is why I'm curious, John, honestly, the first 10 to 15 minutes, if it's this group from the United States and there's a tactical adjustment here or there and you see some improvement, then the exercise is worth it for the United States and Greg Berhalter.
Yes. Wales, by the way, have lost 4 of their last 6 games. Turner only able to clear as far as Ito. Marita. Endo. Kubo. Adams will see that out, assisted by Serginho Dest. Coming up at half-time, we'll have first-half highlights and analysis. We'll discuss the potential World Cup roster, which is going to be named on November the 9th. But the US have had a pretty uncomfortable first half here.
Oh, they've been under pressure, under siege, just from bad giveaways, loss of possession. So it's going to be real interesting to see what Greg Berhalter does at halftime, and if any changes are made, what changes are.
Well, the goal, when it came, was scored after video review by Daichi Kamada. Turner, by far the busier of the two goalkeepers. The US with plenty on which they need to improve. We'll discuss that when we return in a couple of minutes' time. So changes afoot here in Desseldorf, with the US a goal down against Japan. We're told, Taylor, 4 substitutions.
And it looks like Mackenzie as well. So 4 changes will be made. That tells you exactly where Greg Berhalter is mentally with the starting 11. And that tells you exactly who he's going to look at to change the game in the second half.
ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by Volkswagen. And today we're in Dusseldorf by the River Rhine, watching the US tune up for the World Cup finals in Qatar. Their first game is 59 days away, November the 21st, against Wales at Al Rayyan. But here they're struggling to make an impact on a very accomplished Japan team who are making substitutions. But as we alluded to prior to the break, 4 changes by the US, and you can see some of the new arrivals. So Sargent, Morris, Cannon and Mark McKenzie replacing Jesus Ferreira, Gio Reyna, Serginho Dest and Aaron Long. Those the alterations made by Greg Berhalter. Taylor Twellman alongside me was speculating as to whether Berhalter might give the current players a quarter hour of the second half to rectify things. That's not the case. So what does that say of his mindset?
Well, time is of the essence, right? So you need to get answers, and you've come into these final 2 friendlies and trying to see and assess multiple players, especially with the amount of injuries and questions of the depth because of those injuries. And so naturally this tells you, you know what, he's done with it. He wants to see 4 players come in, 4 players in positions that he needs to find out of whether or not these players can come in. A lot of eyes on Josh Sargent and the form he's in, but Aaron Long comes out. McKenzie, who's been in real good form at the start of the season in Belgium, what does he look like? This tells you where Greg Berhalter is without even asking him.
A couple of alterations as well by the Japanese coach Hajime Moriyasu, who sent on Hiroki Ito and Shuto Mashino. So a significantly changed US lineup now. 2 changes in the back 4, 1 on the left wing and 1 up front. Endo. Heavy touch by the goal scorer, Kamada. Japan's first half performance was typically ebullient in terms of the energy that they produced, the intensity, technical expertise. Pressing, the harrying of US players in possession led to an astonishing number of first half errors, and the giving away of possession on an all too regular basis. Reggie Cannon. Tyler Adams. McKenzie out to Vines. Sargent. Morris waiting. Cannon, this time Weston McKennie. It's a more sustained spell of US possession than we saw almost at any stage in the first half.
Well, at least they're on the front foot, right? And Giovanni Reina comes off, so now Brendan Aronson's on the left, Jordan Morris is on the right, so maybe you see a little bit more from Sam Vines getting forward because of the constant movement and threat that Brendan Aronson proposes. The other part is, can you play into Josh Sargent as a reference point? We saw very few touches from Ferreira up front. Can Josh Sargent be someone to play in and into his feet and then run off of?
Just to complete the substitution picture at half-time, the two outfield substitutions for Japan were mentioned. The other one is almost of more interest to US fans because the goalkeeper has changed. It's Daniel Schmidt, who was born in Illinois, moved to Japan at the age of 2. He's a German father and a Japanese mother. He plays for Sint-Truiden in Belgium. He's winning his 10th cap, on in place of Shuichi Gonda. Torre broke from Arita. They've won 10 of their last 14 games. Only lost 2 of them. Ito, McKenzie, and then Vines. Junior Ito. We began with the news that Christian Pulisic was not going to be able to play because of what we're told is a minor problem picked up in training yesterday. Had it been a World Cup game, he would have been able to start. He's been left out as a precautionary measure. And the hope is he will be able to face Saudi Arabia in next week's friendly in Murcia, Spain, which is precisely where the US squad are heading at the conclusion of this game. They're going straight to the airport onto a charter flight to Spain. Zimmerman. Sargent. Aronson. Weston McKennie. De La Torre. Adams. McKennie. Aronson. Luca De La Torre. Better.
Absolutely. It's night and day. One, you see white shirts on your screen at home moving, trying to find space. Quick passing, quick touches, an urgency going forward. I'm not sure you can see it technically at home on your screens, but there is one tactic adjustment that Greg Berhalter has made. Sam Vines is playing as a left winger. The entire first half, he was literally to the left shoulder of Aaron Long. When they're in possession, there's at least 25, 30 yards between McKenzie and Sam Vines.
De La Torre. Ito. Zimmerman. Aronson. That was not a great challenge by Ito. He has caught Aronson very painfully. The Leeds man was down a couple of times with blows to his lower back. This was a different area that was afflicted.
Well, and I think this could easily have been called a yellow card. I mean, studs right to the back of the leg. I mean, watch this. I mean, you could make an argument that's a red.
Yeah. Yeah. And where is VAR now? Maybe that's why they didn't tell us about it, Taylor. They'd only decided they're having it in the first half on a trial basis, not using it now. But one would have thought there was at least a case there for another look.
Absolutely. I don't think it's even a debate.
Morita. Walker Zimmerman. Defensive unit deprived today of Anthony Robinson, Cameron Carter-Vickers and Chris Richards. Latter two both withdrawals in the past few days from this roster. Sargent has been scoring goals aplenty for Norwich in the English Championship. Aronson. Adams. Zimmerman looked back at Turner, but decided on another option, which is McKennie. Endo. Ito, US a bit squeezed and exposed here. Another example of giving the ball away in a dangerous area. Tomiyasu. Turner making another important stop. A couple of those in the first half. De La Torre. Baton picked up by Adams. Reggie Cannon. Mackenzie. McKennie. It's Vines. Bit more of a spring in the American step in the second half. Aronson. It's a corner.
Well, it's a spring in the step, but more so there's diversity to their attack, right? There's one thing to have energy. There's another thing, as Matt Turner came up with a big save here on Ito, but it was the attack going the other way. That little tactical switch of pushing Sam Fines more forward. It's allowed Aronson to almost play as a second forward next to Sargent. Now all of a sudden Japan has to defend.
Specifically against a Brendan Aronson corner. Uncomfortable for the goalkeeper. It's in the air a long time. And Daniel Schmidt's clearance. Locating Kubo. And De La Torre does a decent job in holding him up.
How about that touch? How's your touch with the 75-yard side volley from your goalkeeper over your shoulder? I mean, you watch Kubo play, you can see the Barcelona education in there, can't you?
You can. We saw that replay of Matt Turner's latest save. We were doing a bit of research as to how much football Turner is likely to play, because obviously there's this issue. Zach Steffen's been out injured, just returned at Middlesbrough, not guaranteed a place. Horvath, second tier in England. Sean Johnson playing in MLS with NYCFC. Who's going to start for the US? We reckon that Matt Turner could realistically expect to play 7 first-team games for Arsenal. He's only played 1 so far, so 6 more before the World Cup, which is almost a game a week. That's good exposure, good practice at a high level.
It is, but this will be the first World Cup since 1990 that the United States men's national team will go into a World Cup with a starting goalkeeper that has less than 30 starts with his club team 10 months before the season. I reached out to Tony Meola because I was wondering, how did 94 work when he was without a club playing for the U.S. Soccer Federation? What did he and Brad Friedel do? They played 50 games. They split it up. So even Tony Meola in 94 played 30 some odd appearances, starts going into the World Cup less than 10 months. And so that's really interesting historically when you look at a position where, quite honestly, John, the United States has never had to worry about it. So this is unknown territory for all of those like you and I of assessing a team, of saying, who's the starting goalkeeper for the United States? I said it during qualifying, I'll say it now, it's Matt Turner's job to lose.
Well, the understanding is that Matt Turner's been told that he will start in the Europa League for Arsenal, so there are 5 more of those games, plus a League Cup tie for him. And that's assuming that he doesn't get a show in the Premier League and that Aaron Ramsdale stays fit. Could be more than 7.
To your point, the congested schedule actually works in Matt Turner's favor.
Well, it means Europa League is now weekly, pretty much, rather than every couple of weeks.
So hold on a minute. De La Torre's given a yellow, and the challenge on Brendan Aronson was what exactly?
Orange at best. First player to have his name taken. Played, and still that Kamada goal midway through the first half is separating these teams. Tomiyasu finds needing to be watchful against Ito, and it's a corner. Good test this for Sam Vines, because Ito is a flyer on the right wing for Japan, playing for Reims in France. Of Arsenal exchanging a word with his club teammate there, Matt Turner. Smirk on his face too. Spotted small movement down in the area of the US dugout. A couple more potential arrivals off the bench. Six substitutions allowed in international friendlies. Tomiyasu. Back it comes for a free kick. So we're shortly going to see Malik Tillman, who's been impressing with Rangers in Scotland. And intriguingly, Johnny Cardoso, who plays for Internacional in Brazil, coming on for his 4th cap. Born in New Jersey, but moved to Brazil at 3 months. His parents are Brazilian. Vines. Sargent to Vines. De La Torre. US ball. Jordan Morris. Marita. McKennie. Zimmerman. Vines. So you see the difference of him being committed so much further up the pitch. Kubo. Kamada. Important touch by Turner. That's maybe his most significant save so far.
And again, it's off a decision from a defender from the United States that didn't need to have it. Mark McKenzie, that ball's either going out of bounds or he can play it back to his goalkeeper. Instead, he tries to play something cute through the middle, turnover, and immediately it's Japan and Kamada going the other way. What a fantastic save that was from Matt Turner.
That's his best moment up to this point in the game. It's not as if he hasn't been pretty busy. Zimmerman. There was a stumble there by Morris. Kubo. Kamada. I don't think Matt Turner's done himself any harm today.
No, absolutely not. Because when you're questioning whether or not the lack of repetition is going to hurt a goalkeeper's confidence, make no mistake about it, confidence isn't short with Matt Turner. And he looks different from when you and I saw him in the World Cup qualifying. I think there's a real challenge there day in and day out, and his early experiences for Arsenal, he's been challenged, and today he's been challenged in large part because of his teammates giving away possession too easily. Matt Turner's come up with 2 big saves on the counter.
So here come Malik Tillman, 20 years of age, and Johnny Cardoso, who turned 21 only on Tuesday. 3rd cap for Tillman, a 4th for the Brazil-based Cardoso. That takes the US up to their quota of 6 substitutions now, 4 of them made at half-time. Ito. Japan on the way to their 7th World Cup. They didn't make it until 1998 and then haven't missed since. It's their turn to make a double change. Junior Ito making his way off. And the two who are coming on. Ritsu Doan, who's a right winger from Freiburg. And number 18, Kaoru Mitoma, who has recently signed for Brighton in the Premier League in England. He was the player who scored 2 goals in Sydney against Australia to secure Japan's place at the upcoming World Cup. Vines. Fell slightly awkwardly for Tillman. It was his first touch of the ball, not the touch that he wanted. Another wild swipe by Reggie Cannon. Adams. Tomiyasu. Josh Sargent.
It's almost identical to Morocco, John. Remember when Reggie Cannon was in the game, in possession, he plays the 3rd center back?
Yeah, almost a hybrid, right back, right centre back.
Yep.
Played 7 games for Boa Vista this season, all at central defence. Mitoma. Important block.
Well, and the issue with that, too, similar to Morocco and Uruguay this summer, is that when the United States lose possession, because of the space, you've got to immediately react. And that's worked in Japan's favor over the last 10 minutes. They've had 2 wonderful opportunities on the counter.
Kamada. Again, it's Zimmerman. Endo. Mitoma. Now Morita. Mid-afternoon in Desseldorf. Watching 5 minutes to 4 in this part of Germany. Still seeking to overcome that first half deficit. Daichi Kamada's goal, 24th minute. Endo. Neatly worked. Mitoma in again, and Cannon alert to it. And Reggie Cannon goes down injured, having been caught after he cleared the ball.
Well, Cannon does a good job because Matoma's in, right? Good combination inside from Japan, playing off the center forward, laying it in, and then you've got the wide player making a penetrating run in behind, and Reggie Cannon does a good job. Just watch him wear the knee. Immediately grabbing the left knee or the left shin. Reggie Cannon, so keep an eye over the next 2 or 3 minutes whether or not he can continue.
The issue for the US is that they've used their permitted number of substitutions now. ESPN's coverage of US soccer is presented by the all-electric Volkswagen ID.4. Tillman.
Well, we're approaching the 75th minute, John. The last time the United States had 0 shots on goal was October 2021 against Panama. That's 14 straight games. Now, Ferreira had a great opportunity, right? And so it doesn't mean the quality chances weren't there, but one.
Zimmerman. They look for quality chance number 2. And the knockdown will come to Aronson. Next for the US, Saudi Arabia in Murcia. It's next Tuesday. And after that, it's a wait of significantly less than 2 months until the opening World Cup fixture at Al Rayyan against Wales. Substitutions that have been used mean that we won't see one potential quirk that we thought might be coming our way. Had Kellen Acosta come on, he would have been a representative of the US, but a Japanese-American, a duality of eligibility, born to a father who himself was born in Japan. Japan looking dangerous.
What a save.
Ritsu Dan holds his head for a moment because again Matt Turner has excelled.
Oh, and talk about Matt Turner being rusty, dear Lord. Again, just Walker Zimmerman, Tillman, Reggie Cannon, the ball just pops out, so there's space there. And the ball comes to the top of the 18 and Doan hits it well. Matt Turner getting just the slightest of touches to keep it out from the back of his net. If there's been one positive in today's game, it's been the goalkeeper.
Doan, having forced the corner, has gone across to take it. Done it once, he'll be asked to do it again. The header on with no one to turn it in, importantly for the US. So Shida making his presence felt at the near post.
I think equally as so, Japan's looked dangerous on set pieces, haven't they?
Yes. Japan have got a pretty tough World Cup group they're in with Germany and Spain, plus Costa Rica. And in terms of warm-ups, they've got a game with Ecuador here on Tuesday, and then one of a growing number of teams who've arranged a pre-World Cup friendly in the desert. They're playing Canada in Dubai on November the 17th, 3 days before the World Cup opens.
How many teams feasibly are going to do that, you think?
Well, I've been prepping a number of teams for the World Cup, and I would say that half of the teams that I've been going through in minute detail have arranged a friendly somewhere, whether it's Turkey or the UAE, somewhere en route to Doha. Doğan. It's a corner. Some of these games are being arranged at remarkably short notice. I mean, the African Federation, in fact, have cancelled a couple of rounds of Africa Cup of Nations qualifiers just so their clubs can play friendlies against more diverse opponents to prepare them better. Japan threatening a second. Should be Turners. Are you surprised the US hasn't joined that number of teams to arrange a game in that time spell?
Yes and no. I mean, it's unprecedented territory, so I don't know how you prep for a World Cup when you're literally playing a club game, 9 days before. Traditionally, you're used to having, at least for the United States, 3 friendlies. And so I don't know, and that's why I asked, because I figured you had done some of the research of other teams. You know, how many of those players are going to be playing a game 10 days before the World Cup starts, and then you're going to throw a friendly in there? I mean, the last thing you really want to do, John, is to have a friendly in there and you lose the player to injury. But on the other hand, I understand the anxiety of not having any rehearsal.
Header away by Tomiyasu.
I mean, the MLS players that are not playing in the playoffs will be with the under-20s in a combined camp in Dallas, right, in October. So that's going to be interesting to keep those players fit. There's not going to be games, you know, full internationals. There's going to be scrimmages there. I just think, I don't know. I don't know how I would manage it if I only had 8 days with my group of players.
The timetable for international managers is very congested, as the major European leagues finish precisely 1 week before the opening game of the World Cup. Berhalter has been given a deadline, as all coaches have, of November 14 to name his roster. That's the absolute last for which he can. The expectation is it will be significantly earlier than that. Here's Aronson. Brendan Aronson trying to carve and curl an equaliser.
Yeah, but a glimpse of what Brendan Aronson has done since setting foot in England with Leeds United. It's why Leeds United supporters absolutely love this kid, because it's full tilt for 90 minutes. 90 minutes of relentless pursuit of just getting something in the final third and putting the opposition under pressure. And the question will be for Greg Berhalter at the World Cup: do you play him through the middle? Do you play him wide? I don't think there's any debate. You have to play him from the opening whistle, because he just gives you an energy that sets the tone by which all the other players on the field have to follow.
Does that not mean, though, Taylor, that another, in inverted commas, big name has to miss out from the starting 11?
In the first game, sure, but not in all the group stage games. I think you're just going to manage the time and try to get the most out of everybody. But I think the health of Timothy Weah is going to be a very interesting one, because he's another one that gives you an element that no one else really has on the team. And who is Christian Pulisic when the World Cup starts?
Mitoma.
In my opinion, if the United States have the off-the-ball predator that Christian Pulisic was at Dortmund and before this string of injuries at Chelsea, watch out. Because I think he suits this team best when he's that kind of player versus the playmaker of trying to play into the hole and trying to combine and be more of a number 10. I think if he's using his pace and his ability off the ball to impact the game, I just think it makes the collection of attacking players for the United States even better.
Sam Vines. Cardoso. Word on Vines. what's he done in terms of his battle to lock down, if you like, the reserve space behind Anthony Robbins?
Well, I don't think he's locked it down, but I think the second half is an improvement from what we saw in the first half. But I think a lot of that is the tip of the cap to Greg Berhalter. He changed it tactically. If Anthony Robinson is not healthy, John, then that's a real dilemma, because now you're going to play a right-footed player at left back, and I think that limits the United States in their ability and possession to create width.
Aronson down for the umpteenth time today. And that was very nearly two through the player that scored the first, Kamada. But Aronson is yet to pick himself up. He's taken a couple of crunching tackles. One of them arguably was a potential red card challenge early in this half.
Well, I think this is just more of a collision with Endo, but Kamada just has a great understanding of those late arriving runs in the box. Already 6 goals in all competitions for Eintracht Frankfurt. He's just got a great understanding of where the attacking player ahead of him is, and then how to time that run to force the defensive midfielder. And in this case, it was Tyler Adams or Cardoso to be a little late with that run. I mean, you said it, John. Kamada's almost played as a second forward as opposed to one of the 3 in the midfield.
Been a very definite tweak to the normal Japanese approach today, as you would call it, a wrinkle. Vines. Major League Soccer coming up next weekend. It returns to ABC Sunday, October the 2nd. Portland Timbers hosting Gareth Bale, Giorgio Chiellini and LAFC at Providence Park in Portland. Should be a terrific atmosphere for what's now a very important game. Coverage begins at 3 p.m. Eastern on ABC and also streaming live on the ESPN app. Mitoma trying to locate an angle and a teammate and finding only Mark McKenzie. Doan. Gareth Bale, talking of LAFC as we were there, only a substitute again for Wales as they lost against Belgium last night. Continuing the LAFC theme, we were having a very pleasant lunch in the shadow of Cologne Cathedral yesterday by the right bank of the River Rhine, and ran into a big Steve Cherundolo fan who wanted us to pass on his personal regards as a supporter of Hanover to the mayor of that particular city, which we happily agreed to do. Endo. Sargent's touch. And Vines. One more substitute permitted for Japan, and that man will be Genki Haraguchi of Union Berlin, the surprise leaders of the Bundesliga. And he replaces the goal scorer, Kamada. Probably worthy of comment, Brendan Aronson, we mentioned he'd been whacked not once, not twice, not 3 times. He's probably been down 5 times during the course of this game, and sometimes for prolonged periods, but he just picks himself up and goes again without complaint. The referee has called a halt with Zimmerman on the floor. Morris on the burst. And the claim by Schmidt. So the US It's a matter of minutes away from what will be their first defeat by Asian opposition outside of Asia since the World Cup defeat back in '98 against Iran. Turner has been very much involved, the Brighton player, and Matt Turner can do nothing about that. If the result was in doubt before, it no longer is. Goal taken with great aplomb by Kaoru Mitoma. The man whose goals took Japan to Qatar has sealed this victory for the Samurai Blue.
And he was the best 11 in J-League in 2020, and he's come right into the full national team and scored goals. 8th cap for the national team, and already his 5th goal, one of those in World Cup qualifying. He's been extremely dangerous since coming on in this second half. He's gotten after Reggie Cannon. He's pulled Walker Zimmerman in an awkward position. Matt Turner's had to come up with a couple of saves. This one impossible to get a hand on. Fantastic finish from Mitoma.
He's a player who's only just beginning to make an impact in the Premier League. 4 times off the bench in that competition, but it's just a matter of time given the pedigree that he's shown, the inciting play. He was on loan in Belgium last year and certainly turned a few heads.
He's just so direct. He's capable of using both feet. He's skillful, but he's direct. The ball is immediately at his feet. He's taken on the defender in front of him, and then when he beats that one, he's on to the next one. He's made an immediate impact in this game and played himself into the conversation for that final roster, if not the starting 11.
Not anticipating any additional time, which is something within the gift of the referee for a friendly.
On a friendly, John, that ends ESPN covering the U.S. men's national team.
It does.
30 years. Isn't that crazy?
And we send them en route to Qatar with our very best wishes.
I mean, for so many of us, it was the ABC games and the ESPN family and networks just watching the games way before I even got here, and they just did such a good job of helping this national team, both the women's and the men's, grow. It's remarkable to think that at the end of 2022, it's all done.
As is this game, which ends 2-0 in favor of Japan over the United States. A goal in either half, the second of them very, very late from that man Kaoru Mitoma. It does mean that this slightly concerning run of not managing to win outside of the US, not managing to score very often outside of the US, that run now stands at, in 2022, 5 games outside the national borders, no wins, only 1 goal scored, and just 1 win on their travels in their last 10 for the US men's national team.
And that makes the friendly against Saudi Arabia even more intriguing from my perspective, because the adjustments need to be made. Which players then take that opportunity when given that opportunity Tuesday to impress Greg Berhalter. But make no mistake about it, the performance today is concerning, and it's one of those that I think the staff has to look at, the players have to look at, because less than 9 weeks away, that opening game against Wales is going to be on the doorstep, and they have to be thinking of getting 3 points in that opening game to set the tone for the rest of the World Cup.
The US's record has been bolstered by excellent home form, unbeaten in 26, equaling an all-time record in that regard. 23 wins in their last 25. You say it's concerning. Is this also in some senses a reality check? Because those home results maybe can give some fans a distorted view of precisely where the US team is.
Absolutely. 100%. It's also the confederation you play in. For no matter what team you're talking about at the international level, you have to assess everything from every angle. And so you looked at it, you said the numbers when we were flying over here, And it was alarming because from my perspective, I didn't even think of that nature. But then you look at it and say 3 World Cup qualifiers on the road, you lose. That is something that the CONCACAF qualifying is difficult. I understand that. But the reality is this team away from home hasn't looked like the one that we saw in Nations League, in Gold Cup, and in World Cup qualifying. So yeah, it is a dose of reality.
Well, maybe a rather painful way to take your breakfast back home. But the reality is that Kamada and Mitoma scored. Matt Turner was the one standout for the US. We will wrap things up in a couple of minutes when we return to Desseldorf.